Okay, it is just me and Quentin tonight for the Tuesday show. Tim and Jose had some personal issues to deal with, so we're just gonna be chit-chatting about, I guess, just nerd stuff.
Yeah,
Pop culture.
jam.
Yeah, just anybody want to jump on and leave room in the messages in the comments. You can ask us all sorts of stupid questions, and we probably won't answer them, but you can leave them.
Yeah, check out my name this week.
So-
The Quintosaurus. I'm just going to change my name.
I did like that name.
Yeah. It was Quintus Maximus. Now it's Quintosaurus. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Make sure it's all.
Yeah, make sure it's not the one with the porn and stuff on it.
Yeah, you got to watch out for that. You don't want to bring the one up with all the toys and action figures.
Yeah, right. Share screen. Select window. Allow. There we go. All right. So, you have a good Christmas, Aaron?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we had a pretty good Christmas. I had planned to get so much done during the break because I actually get 2 weeks off, and you'd think with that kind of time, I would be able to get something done. But with everybody being home, no way.
I know that feeling.
No way. No way at all. So tonight we are working on Trumps, just to let everybody know.
You're doing issue 3, right? And then
I'm doing issue 3, yes.
Peter's doing 4. Okay, yeah. I knew it's like split. I always get mixed up which one's doing which. Hey, Roland, we had our mighty boss join us tonight.
What's up, fellas?
Nothing much. This is the first time I think. No, did I stream with you guys after Christmas once? Or maybe I came. I don't know. Has it been a while? Has it been since after Christmas? Man, my brain is going. Did we have a holiday? I mean,
yes, we did. Yeah, there haven't been very many streams, period, since Christmas.
Yeah.
So, because Wednesday, Sunday we just had our first one since Christmas. Sunday, this is your guys' first one, and Wednesday. I think Wednesday was back last
yes,
week.
So I did join Wednesday. Yeah, we had a pretty full house. It's funny because Wednesday, all of a sudden everyone showed up. I'm like, hey, everyone's back. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that was definitely fun.
I'm trying to tweet
I knew I'd been on before. Yeah. So are you inking? What page is this, Quentin?
This is page 20
out of 22.
Nice.
Yep, page 20 out of 22, yes.
So does this mean that you've got 3 more pages to finish before you're done?
That is it.
Wow. Did you must have heard us. We were talking about you on Sunday.
I did not. Was it on a stream or something, or?
I don't remember if it was live or if it was post stream, but we were talking about Trumps and the fact that you're finishing up 3 and Peter is finishing up 4.
Yeah.
And I said, because Pete's done about half, I forget what he said, but he's done about half of it. I said, yeah. I said, I think Quentin is just a page or 2 ahead of you. but now I find out you're much further along than that.
That's the point when Peter started crying.
Which is good.
That's right.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I had actually planned on finishing it up during the break because I actually get 2 weeks off. But as I said right before you came on, with family being around, and there's just no way at all.
Yeah. It's funny how, because I actually took vacation in December. The Full Sail is one of those universities that they don't. There's no breaks really. The students get literally the week of Christmas and the week of New Year's. They get a spring break in March, I think, and then there's 1 week for July 4th. So other than that, I mean, it's nonstop. And people don't think about it when I say that. I'm like, yeah, that means I have to work all of those months, all those weeks too.
Yeah.
So I took a vacation in December, and man, I had so many plans. I had a list of all these things I was going to write and all these things I was going to do. And yeah, But I spent a week in Arkansas with my family, which I absolutely loved, and I did
Oh
not,
yeah.
I
Visiting
didn't.
your extended family, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
My parents and my sister. Of course, my kids and their specials came up, and so we just all hung out there for a week. Played a lot of cards. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at our the Man Christmas video. But we sing, we wish you a Merry Christmas, and then there's some video, and it's full of us playing cards.
I don't
You
think
know, I was gonna watch that, but then I was thinking, well, this is the one from last year,
No,
but it's the
no.
new one, huh? I'll have to get
Yep.
by there and look at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell people all the time, that Trump's was inspired because my family plays a lot of cards, and some people would just go, yeah, whatever. But this video, much of it is us playing cards.
in the house or on the street doing the 3 cards. You got to find it.
Yeah, right.
Hustling. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fun. So you get to actually see us playing cards in action.
That's kind of cool. Do you play?
Yeah.
Do you play mostly cards just with regular card decks? Do you have any other specific card games you play, like Uno
Yeah.
or other thing?
Yeah, we play Pinochle.
Okay,
yeah, that requires a Pinochle deck. I used to have a deck right here, but I think I put it up. Most of what we play just requires a regular deck.
Okay.
We actually, we do have Uno cards now, but before I even knew what Uno was, we used to play a game exactly like Uno, but it's called King's Reverse. And
I
it's
think you
played
mentioned that one time.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's just played with a regular deck of cards, and there is an equivalent um, in the regular deck of cards for every card in an Uno deck. And
Oh,
so,
that's
the
probably where
first
they got it, and they just.
well, the first time I ever played Uno, I said, "Hey, they stole this game from King's Reverse."
Oh, speaking of stuff, Facebook they were listing a few things, but apparently Winnie the Pooh became public
Yes,
domain.
yes.
So I was like, oh, cool. So now we get to also.
Now I
Is
don't
he
have to.
is he
Now I don't
really
have to.
now? Is he
Yeah.
really public domain? Because last time, when Mickey was going public domain, they did
So
some shady business.
he is. What kind of business?
Some shady business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Keeping it family friendly.
Yeah, well, I was like, wait, Quinn said that? What'd he say?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. So the books are public domain, but the cartoons
Or not. Disney owns their version of it.
yes. So yeah, I guess you could say there's a little shady business right there, because it is a little weird. How do you differentiate, between that?
They said something like, just don't put
Well,
a red shirt on
when
it.
I say shady business, they were actually going to be losing. I think it was back at the turn. It was like around 2000, 2001 or something. They were going to lose it within.
Mickey?
Yeah, they were going to lose Mickey. And they went all the way to Congress and started lobbying with Congress to pass this law that touched a bunch of different stuff. But one of the things that it did was extended the whole thing for 10 extra years. So then it came up, or maybe it was 20. I can't remember, but it came up again. I know, and now they've done something else to where they get to keep it.
Oh yeah.
So they're not going.
The House of
after
Mouse.
so many years. Now I thought. Now I could be wrong. I thought for something to go public domain that all the original parties involved in it had to be passed on, but that the people who, like Disney, could just renew the copyright every so many years, but apparently that's not it. So after so many years, things just become public domain.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's they have to now. They would have
unless
to,
you're Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Now you have to renew copyright if you're still using it. You have to continue to.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you quit using it, in order to maintain the copyright, you have to continue to renew the copyright with your intent to use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Essentially, a lot of times it's like, hey, I'm not doing anything with this right now, but I intend to use it this way, and you have to specify how you're going to use it.
And most people, I do know that because a lot of people have asked me about, do I need the copyright stuff? And I always tell them, no, there's common law copyright,
Right.
that you can do. And And I said the chance of somebody trying to steal your idea and make money off it is so nil
Right.
that the
Yeah.
chances of it happening are very, very
Yeah, probably what'll happen to you is if you form an IP and it takes off and
Then-
it starts becoming a problem for one of the bigger companies, then they're going to get you.
Right.
Yeah.
Then they're
Yeah.
going to say, "Hey, this looks
Yeah.
like this random thing we have over here."
Right.
And
Yeah, if I
that's
do
how they're going to get you.
Captain America throws a square shield instead of a round one. Well, in fact, that Rob Liefeld went through that. What was that? Was the Fighting American, or do you
When I-
remember that in the '90s? He created a Captain America guy that was a character actually created during or before, and they said like he could do that. The only thing is he couldn't throw his shield. I remember that was one of the stipulations Marvel said.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Because the Fighting American existed in the 1940s.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was. Now I'm just curious. I'm going to look it up
And-
because I remember Rob Liefeld, and of course, Marvel went after him. I think it's.
Well, I know the whole imbroglio with like overkill having to be
Mhm.
changed to overt kill.
Yeah.
They made the mistake of doing that character on a show with Stan Lee, and it's so funny because Stan Lee's walking around. They're like joking back and forth as workmates do about if this ever goes anywhere, I'm going to sue you. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. They brought out Overkill at Image, and of course they had to change the name
Yeah.
to Overt Kill because of that thing they had done together years back.
You talking about
Yeah.
that video that they made?
Yeah, the video. On the
Yeah.
video, they
Wow.
actually do Overkill years before Image ever gets started. It's hilarious. And it is Overkill. It is
Yeah.
the character Overkill.
Wow.
They,
That's
They're
funny.
yeah, I
just
just
there
looked it
playing,
up.
doing, making, I'll just make up this and give him this and give him that. And then you see it in the comic like 5-6 years later, somebody's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I just
That's
looked up
funny.
Rob Liefeld. It was called the Fighting American. It's when he owned Awesome Studios. I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember the '90s.
Yeah.
And I remember that coming out. And I like Rob Liefeld, but at the track record of Image, they were like, well, we have this, buckle down on this and make sure, he's, even though it was a common, law character at the time,
Right.
Marvel was getting through the shield or whatever. And then it's like it lasted 3 issues and it was done. I was like, Marvel, we didn't need to go through that trouble. Just wait. He'll go on to something else.
Oh, I was wrong about it being. Yeah, really.
Yeah, no.
I was wrong about it being a 1940s book. It's actually from 1950s.
Well, so Captain America, I know, was a 40. So Captain America came first then. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there's
Huh.
a lot. I mean, the idea of Rob. I mean, I think shortly after that or before, like Rob Liefeld like drew Captain America, but I can't remember. And I think he just liked drawing the character, so he's like, "Well, I'm going to draw
Right.
this fighting American character," and so.
Well, it's really hard to have any kind of patriotic character
Yeah.
without
Captain
having
America.
and designing a costume for one without having some key things on it, like the
Right.
American flag and stars, and that's just you are just setting yourself up for pain if you do something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I always
because
thought
if you ever get anywhere, they're gonna get you.
I always thought some of my favorite patriotic superheroes that we're talking about, some of the Canadian ones, like Captain Canuck, and I think there was actually
Good
wasn't there one Marvel had an Alpha Flight that was kind of like the colors. He had like the
The
maple
Guardian.
leaf, the Guardian.
Mhm.
Yeah, I always thought the red and the white were like pretty slick looking colors, and the
Oh, man.
Guardian and Captain. I thought they looked
I
really
loved
cool. I'm
Alpha
like,
Flight.
yeah, that was at the Guardian, because I remember it was half a maple leaf coming out of his like on
Mhm.
his chest. Yeah, that was a cool looking character.
Yeah.
I know they had some. I also did like Captain Britain. I thought he
Yeah.
was.
Well, I love Captain Britain. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, didn't he
And the
have
Union Jack. Did you ever see the Union Jack?
Yeah, the Union Jack.
Yeah.
Now, Captain Britain didn't have the Union Jack on him, but he had a variation of it on his suit, I think, didn't he?
I don't remember a Union Jack being on his suit.
I know
but
there's a Union Jack character, but I can't remember.
yeah, the Union
I just
Jack.
remember, yeah,
Union
I'll
Jack
just-
character was like his whole thing was a Union Jack.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool when you see other Captain like I know Marvel even had a Captain Israel that was a woman that was kind of cool. She had like a fur like cape and stuff. She was I was reading the New Warriors when I was a kid, and that character came in there. I think she was called Captain Israel or something like that, like a
Oh,
patriotic character. And
yeah.
she was a really cool character. I think she didn't go very well,
I
but
don't
she was
remember
like
that.
white and black with like a fur. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I'm getting her name wrong, so
Well,
forgive me if her name is something else.
you
But it
know,
was supposed to be another patriotic character.
the Invaders had Toro, who was a Japanese character.
Yeah, and they also had that for the X-Men. They had the guy that had the rising sun
Yeah,
on his
yeah.
chest.
I think
Yeah.
his name was Sunfire.
Sunfire or something.
Sunfire,
Yeah. That's cool. I do think it's pretty cool when people do take national flags and adapt them to superhero uniforms. There's some flags that make really cool uniforms.
Yeah.
Some of the patriotic Russian characters I thought looked really cool.
yeah.
Good propaganda tools.
Yeah, they are.
Captain. Yeah, I won't say.
It was funny. I remember even in the
I don't
G.I.
wanna-
Joe
yeah.
toy line. Do you remember
I want to write
Russian-
that one, Quentin.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're going to say, and
Yeah.
I've talked to Stephen Butler about it, and I'm like, I would really like to write that one and do it justice, but I'm afraid it would be.
You should. You've got a
misconstrued these
good track record with names right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We won't go through them all, but we did after one of the shows. It was hilarious. We were
Wait,
talking about
so then my names?
yeah, some of the titles, just how they could be misconstrued as
Oh.
being
Oh, yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah. So
But
you
I mean,
that-
they're really cool and they are perfect for what you're doing. But it just so happens that at the same time, these things are in the news, and some of them are good to some, and some are bad.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
working
there
on
was
Trump's number 3.
I
There
know.
was another. Oh yeah, and the White Devil.
Yeah,
I mean,
Oh yeah. No, that's
it
not
was
mine.
a
That's Ollie
hilarious
Jones.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've said it before on the Sunday stream, but that was something that we heavily debated. Because Trump's predates, obviously, President Trump.
yeah.
Right.
And it's born out of, like I've said before, the fact that the idea itself was born when I was playing cards with my family. Because as we were playing out, we're playing kings and queens and jacks, and I'm like, man, it would be cool if this was like a real world. And I'm like, you're dead, and and I started thinking about it, and then it just, one thing led to another, and that's kind of
That's how ideas
With
are
all the
made.
kingdoms
Yeah.
vying for power, the title
Yes.
Trump's also
Right.
works. So
Well,
it just works.
in so many card games, there's every round has a different suit that is a trump. You play the trumps, right? And like in Pinochle, you bid against your opponents to if you win the bid, then you
Yeah.
get to swap a couple of cards with your partner, right? To form hopefully a stronger hand. And so you're the one that declares which suit is trumps. So if you just say, hey, hearts are trumps, spades are trumps, any of them that you call, right? And then your hand then that contains more trumps is the more powerful hand. And so lots of card games have trumps. What's trumps? Oh, spades are trumps. What's trumps? Oh, hearts are trumps, right?
I mean, who would have known that the guy that got in the office would have
I-
a last name? I mean,
yeah.
it's like you making a comic book called Biden, like biding your time. I mean, you got,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, you
Biding
could. I mean,
your
who
time.
knows what
Biding
you?
your time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like even my comic Godlings, I have kind of noticed sometimes that people see the title, I think they think there's religious overtones to it, and I always explain, I'm like, no, there's no connection to modern human religions at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, the actual I mean, Young Gods. When I looked it up, there, and I don't know where it comes from, but there is an actual the name Godling is an actual name for Young Gods. I don't know. I've looked that up before, and like, yeah, that's been used before, so I just took it. Oh yeah. Okay, so we got some comments on here. Looks like royal airships. Are certain color schemes ever overdone? Ooh.
I say I have a quick answer to that one. I think today, I think mud is overdone.
Yeah.
Everything's brown.
Everything's brown. People are afraid. I think today people are afraid of the primary colors blue and red because I guess they associate that with older characters, Superman and Spider-Man and Captain America, and all we ever get is mud today. I'm like, what color is this character? It's like
I think
black.
strange enough, it could be. Now I'm going on a stretch here, but I think sometimes one of the reasons they may stay away from the primary colors, which I like, is because usually young kids draw with crayons, and most kids draw with primary colors. So I wonder if they think if they draw the comic books with primary colors, it'll be more associated with a kid's comic book than an adult. Because I've noticed
Yeah.
this, and this is and not just comics, video games did this. Like if you look at like games aimed at younger kids or whatever, all bright primary saturated colors, and then if you get to more adult, everything's gray and brown because adults are depressed and the kids are happy. I guess I I don't know, but I have noticed that, and it is weird. And I sometimes wonder because if I go look at kids comic books today, almost all of them bright primary
primary
saturated
colors.
yeah,
Well,
the
Yeah.
I
saturated
know
colors and stuff. Yeah,
with me when I'm coloring, I have to change things up if I don't. But I have seen artists or colorists kind of get locked into using certain colors or combinations a little too often. And I don't mean
yeah,
their palette. I'm talking about just using like panel after panel after panel, this particular color for every panel. I can't do that, but just me. I have to change it up because it just gets too
Yeah.
samey for me.
yeah.
To each his own, fine, but
I try to mix up my colors when there's no background. I came with my galleys. I came across like to put a color. I'll put a gradient of either an off brown or an off blue. And I was gonna add different colors to the comic, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna stick with those. So every time there's like no background, like a talking head scene or whatever, I just put a gradient with that, just so it's kind of gives a little something, but it's not like people don't even probably register it in the comic. It's just something there. Um, but yeah, I know because it's funny when you're doing talking head scenes. I mean, if you don't add a background, what do you add in the back? Some people add colors. I know in the '90s they started adding a lot of like loose crosshatch lines
Well, they did that.
that
That
around the
was
head and stuff. Yeah.
that was the 80s. They did a lot of that.
Yeah, some of it could be done well, but some of it was really distracting. It depended on
Yeah.
how it was executed. Yeah,
Yeah, I think if you look too back at comics from the Bronze Age, I think that you talk about simple backgrounds. They would have a
yeah,
character there, and then there would just be a flat color in the background,
yeah,
and it didn't always reflect the color of the walls. A lot of it was there to to do a couple of things. Number one, it to pop the characters
yeah,
out, and number two, it would could reflect mood.
yeah. I
So
think
my
color.
walls here are kind of a beige. That's a boring color to put in a comic book. What
yeah,
it's like.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I know one of the tricks to not coloring every single little
Yeah,
detail as well is also at the same time splits to like draw focus on the characters, just what you were talking about.
right.
Uh, so if it's a background scene and things kind of have this like mint color to it or something, it kind of puts them in the background, and then you have like your character in the foreground that is the focus is supposed to be on should have like the different colors, brighter colors,
Yeah,
so people see it first.
yeah.
Because you got to move people's eyes around the page, and that's how
In my
colors do it. And I think it's
Yeah.
amazing.
in my
Like,
Godliness comic, the
yeah,
only red I use is on the main characters, especially in the beginning, have these crimson suits, I like the school uniforms, and I purposely made it. That's the only red I use, just as you were talking about. So they pop out from anything in the background, and of course the golden rule that cool colors recede, warm colors come to the front. So you try to do that. Royal Oathships, he was saying that progression of colors in a comic a la Poe's Mask of the Red Death. I was looking that up. Very monochromatic. Do you guys? I like monochromatic stuff where they just use like reds or something. I was looking it up and it looks very, very
it
cool.
depends on what I'm reading.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I get, again, depending on what I'm reading, sometimes I get a little tired. I get a little tired of the saturation, so I'll
Yeah.
read something that's a little less saturated. little more monotone, not totally monotone, but
Yeah,
something a little less saturated. Just put it that way.
with just one
Yeah.
color, whatever. Yeah. Well, strangely, would you? I know this maybe is a dumb question. Would you guys consider black and white comics monochromatic? I mean, is
Well,
black a color, or would you consider white? Now
Yeah,
I know
it's mono.
monochromatic means various shades of one color, so I don't know if that really works. I know it's just a curious
well,
idea.
I mean, if you think about it, you had the old computer monitors that were monochromatic, but they were only one color,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know that I would necessarily call them monochromatic, but maybe it's possible, and
that
I
you
don't
could
know.
define them if you wanted
Yeah,
to.
it's possible that
Yeah,
you could define it that way. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Uh,
I would say I'm not a big fan of the monochromatic stuff, except for used with effect. I
yeah,
think I think when you can use monochrome coloring in certain, you say, okay, I'm going to have this character that we're going to have flashbacks, or and all of the flashbacks are
yeah,
in monochrome, or maybe if you're trying to differentiate between scenes, okay, this is this character over here doing this, and this is a B story, I want to put this character in all the monochromatic colors.
yeah.
I think that can work.
I think a storytelling. I think monochromatic stuff could be used more as a storytelling. I have
Mm,
seen a lot of modern comics that will do almost monochromatic, like all this, like this panels, all of it have like a green hue or pink. They strange enough, somebody's telling me a lot of comics lately have been using beige colors or like the Easter colors, like pale.
mm.
Um,
Pastels.
Pastels, yes. Sorry. Yeah, and I don't know if that's still going, but that I was kind of looking. I'm like, yeah, I guess I can kind of see it. I'm not the biggest fan of some of the coloring choices of modern comics. I think I'm
No.
like Roland. I like more color and brightness. There's a lot of stuff that, and again, like there's a lot of brown. And Infrafan says old video games are great. They had to a limited palette, so creative artists made some great games. Look at Mega Man and Zelda. Yeah,
Yeah, right,
yeah.
exactly.
And, the,
Yeah.
but of course, restrictions always add amazing creativity. Now that we can do anything with computers, it
Well,
seems like.
yeah, talking about that and the printing process in general,
Yeah.
kind of get the CMYK,
Yeah,
gives you some, you have to be careful about the colors you use and how
yeah,
they're going to turn out in the final product. I know, being in the t-shirt screen print business, you have to be real careful when you're doing four color process, what kind of colors. You just have to know that what's on your screen, RGB, is not going to always translate
Right.
CMYK when
yeah.
it gets to, the plates.
Right.
So,
Wasn't there, Roland? Maybe you might know this. I remember something like with, I don't know, it was DC, maybe Marvel. There was a lot of blue colored characters. Wasn't there some reason behind why there were a lot of blue colored, like Nightcrawler, Mystique, Beast? Wasn't something
Oh,
like blue was easier to use, or wasn't wasn't there a reason behind why they did it?
some of that you may be thinking the blacks, right?
Okay,
So Spider-Man's costume is like, they think of red and
like
shoot,
a blue.
yeah, but the problem is you can't, let me look up some of these. Uh the thing that you can't do with the like solid blacks is that you can't really, there are no definitions, right? So if you put
Yeah,
something a solid black, there's no definition, so you give it the blue highlights to make it, it looks
that makes sense.
blue, you know.
Yeah. That makes
um
sense because I remember Nightcrawler's skin was blue, and it was funny because I remember like, and sometimes you could figure out that it's actually supposed to be colored black, and the blues were supposed to be where the light was hitting it, but it was
yes,
actually
yeah,
supposed to be colored. Yeah, pastels always, and then Roy Ship says pastels always seem so flat, but they're always used for Easter. Need to add that to the list to research why. Yeah, pastels are always like very kind of, they're not in your face, not saturated. They're just kind of there. I think pastels can be used in specific instances, but I do think a mix of colors. It is weird. I don't understand like you, Roland. There has been in most media of some people desaturating colors.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I think some of it is, so I
yeah, I
think
think
some of
that.
this
Hulk was great for that reason. Printing limitations. He wasn't that?
Yeah,
I think that
yeah.
was it.
Yeah,
And
that's
also
why
to
he
save
was
money.
green. He was supposed to be gray.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes what we see is that is colorists realize, oh, I can do anything, then let me do anything. But that's not always good, right? You
Yeah.
don't, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And I think the difference is, those colorists that we find that we like, and we won't name names here except for all the Silverline colorists.
Of course.
We like them. The difference is, those colors know and understand the tool and know, okay, I could do this, but why would I do that? Yes, I
Yeah.
have the ability. This technology gives me the ability to do all this, but a simple yellow right here is just fine. I don't,
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
need to put all these patterns in and make it go from yellow to blue to pink to gray to black to mud,
There's
funny
also
'cause-
another issue about the unsaturated colors. Is depends on the process as well. I use different processes sometimes, just depending on the piece. But there's two processes that people go by nowadays, and that for coloring. And some of them, especially in the painterly styles, where they painterly
Mhm.
put color in. If you do everything in a grayscale and then you come back later and you cut things out and then you make it a color, it's just not going to have the same vibrance or the same kind of texture
right.
as if you started with color and built up on those colors from start to finish. So
Yeah.
there's two methods. There's going from grayscale to color, and then there's the starting from color and ending with color. And so that's another huge thing, is because normally, and I'm just saying this from my own experience, and I work around other artists, they're the easiest thing for an artist to do, and you can get by with it, is using that grayscale method to get all the tones in a piece. And then you go back and you just cut those out and you hue and saturate it or whatever, do it like a different layer and
Right. You
color
could do a
it.
multiply and then color over that. Yeah.
Right. And for instance, Addy Gronoff, he does all of his work penciled, fully rendered, realistic looking pencils first. And then somebody or even he puts it in Photoshop and goes around and cuts out every one of those pieces. And that's why his work seems a little unsaturated or dim. It's
Yeah.
never really bright and textured with multicolors in one certain
Yeah.
color field. So that's another thing you had to consider too. Is it's very easy to do that, and so a lot of colorists usually start out by doing that,
Yeah.
especially in the painterly or the rendered, very heavily rendered colors. A lot of them will do that. So that's just my 2 cents on
Oh
that.
yeah.
And I do it sometimes, but it just depends. Like I say, for me, it depends on the piece. If I'm doing something that I really don't want to be bright, I may do it. But some people, they're one trick pony, and that's how they color.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all their stuff looks like that.
Infrafriend says, with there basically no limitations these days, it's up to the artist to challenge themselves by enforcing creative limits. I agree with that. I think that's what
I
you
do
were
too.
talking about, Quentin, about doing that. It's funny that the gray tone, and I know a lot of artists, like you said, working with the grays first and adding color. A lot of people say don't work on a white background, like color on a white background. I always
Yep.
color on solid
That's
white,
that.
and I don't know, and so I always think I'm doing it wrong. I just start coloring people. I actually get a lot of compliments on my coloring schemes, and I still think it's one of my weakest areas. But I see people all the time going, "These colors are so great," and I'm like,
I
"Really?"
feel the same way, but yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen your colors, and you did an excellent job on what was it, Silver Blade in the Christmas
yeah.
special.
Yeah.
I loved that. I
Yeah.
loved
And
it.
that was
I
just off
loved
a
your color
white
choice.
background. I didn't mute the gray. I don't know. So I don't know. I'm still learning a lot about it. But yeah, it's weird. Just sometimes you get compliments on you're like, yeah, I'm really proud of this drawing. Love the colors. Really? Like, and it's the one thing you like. Oh, I just added color to it. Yeah. With
I
great software comes great
I
responsibility.
did
That's for sure.
I
Yeah, I
like
love that.
It's great stuff.
Yes.
I think he's talking
Exactly
about
right.
adding lens flare. Wasn't it the lens flare the Photoshop go-to? And I think,
For a while, yeah.
yeah. Coloring
Um,
is definitely different
yeah.
these days, and I think it's. I don't know. I've started to notice. I like when people use color as a language. I started doing that with my comic, trying to make it. My goal of my comic now is to try to make my comic as readable as possible. The idea is I almost want people to forget about the art and pay attention to the story.
Mm,
So not have the art get in your face as much, but be the art so simple and so readable that you're just reading the story fast. That was kind of
yeah.
my idea. Because I've noticed even I get I love George Perez to death. He's fantastic.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'll spend hours on a page. I just get caught up in looking at everything or whatever.
Right.
You know, I'm like
Yeah.
George, and then I turn the page. I'm like, okay, what was going on? Oh yeah, Wonder Woman's doing this. You know, but because I get caught up. But that's an artist. I mean, most people probably wouldn't do that. But me as an artist, I just get lost in his stuff. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I'm the same way too. Now, I wouldn't want this for every comic, but I love to see those comics that are penciled or inked all the way through. But I'm an artist. I like to sit and
Right.
study them,
Yeah.
and because that's mainly what I do is pencil, ink, and I do color, but I mean it's nothing like Roberta. It's not even like Barbara, and
Yeah.
I love what they do, and they are so good at drawing a person's eye from one place to the other. I mean, it is amazing what I've seen Roberta do on
Mm.
stream before. Uh,
Yeah.
And she makes it look so easy. You
she
I
know.
know she went
does.
from
She
inking to
does.
coloring. Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah.
that was Barbara. Sorry. Yeah, Roberta.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's. Now, didn't Roberta? Did she ever ink, or is she just primarily just a colorist?
No, I think so. I think Roberta is an artist in the sense
Yeah,
that she does a lot of digital art,
graphic design. I
uh,
think she does a lot of
graphic
graphic
design,
design.
painted
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Yeah. To my knowledge, she's never inked like a traditional comic book style
Mm,
inking. Not that I'm aware of. She was always a colorist with Malibu from back in the day.
yeah.
So
It's weird because most people who get in the comics want to draw, right? Rarely do you hear people like, I want to be a colorist or whatever. I actually thought it would be fun to be an inker in comics. I just never
yeah,
really pursued it as much, but I do find it fun. Like when I was inking that page of Dean stuff, I had a lot of fun,
yeah,
and coloring
yeah.
is fun. There's something about giving it to Dean and him saying "Wow" or saying like, "What did you do?" Like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, if you recall, I found those pages of Silverstorm that you did.
Yeah, the ones that I
You
inked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had a ton of fun doing that. So,
And you
but
know what? The
now
thing about it
seeing
is, Aaron, I'll be honest with you, man. I had completely forgotten that.
that I
And
inked those, I was like 6 pages something in that. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and I had a ton of
Um,
fun. Yeah, I would. So, of course, I have to be careful with what I say around Roland because he'll put me to work. Hint, hint.
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks. You
I've
love
got a
Silverblade?
vacation coming
Yeah.
up. Oh, really?
yeah, right.
Oh, really? Yeah, I thought I was. Okay, I'm gonna be working.
Yeah, you just thought you had a vacation.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Um,
Uship loves Silverblade. Yeah, I'm excited for Silverblade and the new Night Rise. Is it Night Rise or Night? It's Night
yeah,
Night
Rise.
Rise.
Nightrise. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I keep thinking of Nightfall. I don't know why I keep doing that.
I,
That's okay.
I misspelled your name, but right here it is.
Oh yeah. Way back in the day.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was
This
fun. I
Wow.
remember doing that. I was in college when I did that
this is
back in the day.
from 1999. So the book was probably
Yeah,
done in 98.
something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was inking it. Yeah,
14,
and
15,
then we
16,
have
17.
a.
You did five pages of Silverstorm issue number 3.
I had a ton of fun
Mhm.
doing that. Yeah,
So
I
you
kind
you inked the guy who pops on a lot of times, Jackson Rennick. You inked Jackson. This was his work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yep.
I think you sent. Didn't you send those pages back to me?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah, I have them around there. I have a stack of pages. They're somewhere safe, and that's always my curse. I'm gonna put it somewhere safe, but then like months later,
But
where's
but
that safe place?
but for every yeah, really, yeah. Yeah. But for everyone listening, let's be really clear. I only sent those pages back to you within like the last year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the thing about it is, I held on to them for so long with your name on them. Even, I had your name and I think 2 other people. I had names on it but this is like kind of pre-internet, And so I'd lost contact with everybody. I didn't know
Yeah.
where anybody was. And it wasn't until we reconnected and I got to thinking, I, I, I think I got pages with his name on it. So,
Yeah, I did remember doing that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had fun, dude. It's funny because I was been reading the Christmas special and been
It's
enjoying it
good,
been
isn't it?
halfway through. Yeah, I like it.
I'm
It's
really proud of it.
it's
Yeah,
really
me
fun to
too.
see all the varying art styles. I
Yeah.
realize how different mine is, which I don't mind, but it's interesting to see my style in a book. I'm like, I'm more close to the bear than I am,
Yeah.
my art style, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. It's just different because I know I do have a different style, but like a lot of the superhero stuff, like when you see it like side
Yeah.
by side, I'm like, oh
Different
yeah,
is good.
yeah. It's definitely fun. Yeah, I like the what was it? There was
Well,
a
and
few
the other thing is, Aaron, I told you ultimately the way we ended up figuring out, when we had the questions about Friar Rush,
because
ultimately there were some certain things that you did and were like, okay, yes, this was 20 years ago, but that looks exactly like this. This is
yeah.
because it was unique the way you did. I think it was the eyes. It's like those eyes are exactly the same, and these others over here, they're not that way.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this is you. This is the same guy because it's your style.
Yeah, it definitely I have gone through and developed the style. Either I think not even on purpose, just inadvertently just taking
Yeah,
things that I like and then just kind of doing it. And it's funny too because people like, can you switch styles? I'm like, to a degree. I mean,
yeah,
I could be conscious, but as I'm drawing, like anything, you will slip back into some of that same habits. It's very hard to consciously do that, but I think you can to a degree. Like one picture, I could, but if I'm doing a comic,
right.
by the first few pages, you're gonna start seeing my old style slip back, and that's just because I'm drawing or forgetting or doing whatever. And yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
But
yeah. The Chris,
I'm a person that thinks too, though, that your work should look different over time.
yeah,
I don't get these cats that's been drawing the same way for 20 years. I don't get it. I
oh yeah,
mean, to me, if it's not changing, getting better, and looking different, I mean, I'm doing something like totally wrong.
well, it's the same thing in my Goblins. I mean, I know this is always a fact, but it's fun to see from issue 1 to the issue 12. Yeah, there's a change.
yeah,
It's just, and you can look at that at Bone too. It's fun to look at Bone because he did such a
yeah,
huge book. By the end of it, there's a change, which is just, I mean, and people are like, can you escape that? I'm like, no. If you're
yeah,
doing it, you can't. You're just going to get better at drawing it over time. But it's fun to see that.
yeah. I think so. Um, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, look at John. I mean, it's fun, and even some become loose. I mean, John Byrne even kind of became a little looser over time.
oh, very much so. Yeah,
Yeah, so there's certain ones that he just got so good at what he did. Because I looked back at some of his old Fantastic Four stuff, like his technology, because he would do that in some of his next men, but I looked back at the old Fantastic Four and I'm like, wow, a little bit of a difference. Jim Lee was
yeah,
one that really became loose. He was very much
yes,
dark, and I actually prefer his older stuff, but he's still good either way. But I liked more of the solid blacks they were doing back in the old X-Men comics.
right.
But yeah, it's just different to see
Well,
people change over time.
yeah, and the other thing, I think too, as you grow as an artist, you figure out, okay, well, these are the things that I do that work. These
Right.
things I do might not work. You also figure out things like shortcuts. Well, I don't really have to do this because I'm telling a story, and does this really add anything? And then you learn what does and what doesn't. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
or
but
I'm really up against the wall here. I
right,
have to hurry.
right, yeah.
What is acceptable and what is not?
Do I need to draw all the little bitty lines in a wall, or can I just go? There's a line. That's a
Yeah.
wall.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I used to draw all like little leaves on the trees, and I remember my
Yeah,
friend saying, she's like, "You're taking forever. Why don't you just draw?" But I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah." So yeah, I just shortcuts because
yeah,
somebody's not going to be like, this comic's great, but those trees suck. That's I can't read
Yeah. Look
like
at this leaf right here.
that.
right.
Can't do
Totally
it.
missed
Yeah.
the stem on this
You
leaf.
draw the best leaves of anyone I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'll do stuff with like somebody's talking and you're trying to figure out what to do with their hands or whatever, and my
Right.
friend would be like, "No one cares. Just put them by the side or put them on their hip or
That's not
no one."
true, I would say, because one of the
Body
things
language. Yeah.
the body language. And one of the things I love about Jack Kirby's work is his characters. There's always, look at his hand. And even think about it, when we talk about Spider-Man, what's one of the things we do? We do this right here, right?
Yeah.
And
I do study
Doctor
that and do
Strange
stuff with
is,
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. I still think some of the hardest stuff to draw is when two bodies are entangled, like fighting, or sometimes, or like group shots where you're having people in the background. And you don't always have to pay attention, but like, would you see this part of this guy's arm between the elbow and the body? You don't have to pay attention, but sometimes, because I've seen some artists who are like, it's maybe it doesn't bother you guys, where like there's some foreground character and there's somebody like maybe in the back, like above the head flying, and the legs kind of go into the back of the head and then vanish. Like you don't see the feet come out there, and you're like, where'd the feet go? And so
where'd the feet go?
I know it's just break? Like, I know. So I'm just like, most
turn?
people probably don't even register it, but I'm always like, well, no, shouldn't you see like toes come out the other? I don't know.
Yeah,
I get anal about that. I'm like trying to keep track of it, like Quinn's doing with all the heads here, making sure all the hands and everything is what you would see and all that.
One thing I'm trying to make sure to do too is make sure they all look different enough that we don't just look like we copied and pasted a bunch of heads around, because they're all wearing these uniforms. So trying to give a little bit of variation.
And then you could do the but you give Quentin the draw armies. But you're going to be probably drawing some armies in the Night Rise comic too.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about those armies, they're going to look all different. Like most of the people will look different. There'll be like a stock soldier type thing in the Army of Darkness, but for the most part, they're going to look all a little bit different. If you look on the Facebook page on the banner, I've got just kind of like an example of that. I don't know if you've been over there, but I've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 or 8 people.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that on your Facebook.
There.
It was like, I think it was like
and they
that
all
scene
look
of
a lot different. They all have just different armors on and stuff.
You go out of your way. It's the little things you do that you're like, people can appreciate this, and you see somebody read the comic in 5 minutes. Great, thanks. Next, and you're like, no, you should be staring at it forever. What's wrong with you?
I swear, what I have to do is smack myself sometimes, because I just get so in the zone, and I just get deeper and deeper and deeper, and before I come out of it, I'm like, oh man, now I've got to do this the rest of the page. Got to do this the rest of the book now.
Oh yeah, there's definitely been some costumes. People even mentioned that was like some of the detailed costumes, and Infrafan says the place for criticizing tree details is Reddit. That's for sure. How trees, and strangely enough, okay, so there are a few things that I have actually bought books for, just because one, I've bought comics based on how they do stones and rock and mountains. If they draw it right, I would use that for reference. There was a Thor book that came out that I bought the omnibus and read it, but I really liked the way he did clouds, so I kept it for that. So being an artist, I find the way people do trees or rocks or whatever, I'm like, that's nice. I'm going to keep it so I can crib your stuff and look at it. There was a comic called The Tale of Sand, which was apparently a movie treatment done by Jim Henson that he never had made. And I think it was a movie treatment done before he did Labyrinth and other things. And they found this and they turned it into a comic book. And the artist who did it, I mean, it was gorgeous, but he did a lot of it in this desert with all these stones. I'm like, oh, I can use that for reference. It was a good book. But yeah, I find myself buying comics for the most obscure reasons. Like, isn't that a cool superhero? I'm like, I really like the way he does trees, like we're talking about. So I'm buying and keep it for that. So I'm like, yeah.
It's funny. I think it was Pete that told me this, but I heard something for the very first time the other day, because a lot of times you have the kind of the so when I teach the comic writing, I don't let my students have silent panels, just because I tell them that is a waste of story real estate, and they've only got so many pages to tell the panel. Now, obviously, I use them sometimes to effect, so it's not that I don't believe in them at all. But
just for practice, the idea of like not, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And so we got into discussion about this kind of thing. Because there's people like Chris Claremont that just cover it up with words. And
I love Chris Claremont, but that
I do
man
too.
loved to listen to himself write.
But
did.
and so I always try to, for me personally as a writer, I try to bring a balance because
Yeah.
I believe that they're comic books and not picture books, right? Picture books are I gave those up when I was 4, and so I think people want meat to their story, but they also don't want the today anyway. They don't want the Chris Claremontian stuff. So I kind of try to bring a balance to it.
Yeah.
And we were talking about something, and Pete said, and again, I think it was Pete. He said something to the effect of, I like it when there are words in the panels, and I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, because it causes the reader to look at my art longer. And
unless those words cover up your art, and then that's evil,
right?
Well, and I've seen that too.
And this is actually why we got to talking about it, because I was complaining, and of course he blamed me, rightly so. I was complaining because on this page in the Christmas special, right, I was looking for a place to put some of this dialogue that didn't cover up right here, right? That didn't cover, because I'm like, where does this, I'm getting all backwards here. It's like, where does this balloon go that it doesn't cover up stuff here, And so I was looking for a place, and he goes, because there's so much interesting stuff happening in the background here. I didn't want to cover it up. And of course he's like, that's your fault. I'm messaging Stephen Butler right now. And he's like, Quentin showed me some of his Trump's pages. That dude is really good.
Well, thank you, Mr. Steve.
Yeah. Oh, he's not on. I don't think he's on here. I'm gonna tell him that I'm.
Yeah, there's some of that when they put dialogue. I do now. I will use silent panels in conversations for effect. Like I've done it a few times in my Gollings comic where somebody will pause before answering, and that's just to give like a tempo. Like if somebody has to, if somebody asks you a hard question, you have to pause to think of an answer. Something like that. They give a sort of depth to it or whatever. But I try to put dialogues in almost every page. Even though I try not to. And the one thing I'll give Claremont is I never could, like when I remember stuff like Storm would be like, well, if I freeze the molecules at a certain temperature, they'll ionize or whatever. I'm like, she's not thinking that. She's thinking, ooh, free stuff. So I never could. Claremont would, like, every extra was like pretty much like a PhD scientist and how they use their powers. And I'm like, I don't really know if I get that.
So yeah. So so one of the things about Claremont's writing is that when you after you've read Claremont for a few months, heck, even just one issue, exactly who the characters are, exactly what they do, what their powers are, you know about them. And I will tell you, man, I've read so many comic books that I finished the comic and I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that was about.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. That's a problem on the writer, that if you can finish a comic and not be able to tell them, you not be able to tell somebody what the story is about or pick it out, then that's a problem. And it's the artist's fault.
Oh, I mean, like I said, I'm always learning how to do better. I do notice over the years that I focus much more on storytelling than the art and the writing. Really trying to focus on combining the two into like into a cohesive whole, or so one doesn't take precedence over the other. How good I'm at is up to obviously other people to interpret. But Claremont was really good at. I was going to say Claremont was really good at using accents too. To great effect, and I thought he did a really good job with that.
Yeah, and there are ways that you can go about accomplishing the same things that Claremont accomplished without, doing the things that he did. And part of it is just that was kind of his style, and you figured it out. Wolverine is the best he is at what he does, and what he does is very nice.
Yeah.
you know.
And he was really good at giving people catchphrases, but they were not cheesy. They were enough to sum up like the Wolverine one. He would do a catchphrase on that. But like there were certain phrases or whatever. I mean, the fact that Rogue always called everyone sugar,
Right.
very Southern thing.
Sugar, not sugar.
Yeah, sugar with the
Sugar.
yeah. And so she would, and that was that's the one thing they never really did in the movies or whatever. I was kind of bummed that Rogue usually always stole people's powers by kissing him, which I always thought was funny.
Yeah.
Because it was like all of a sudden the villain's like, what is going on? Like he's surprised, like she'll jump on it and like kiss him and steal their power. Yeah, and I always thought that was an interesting way of doing that. I mean, of course you could do it other ways, but I still, my favorite one was like there was a issue where like it was like Rogue, Dazzler, Longshot, and like somebody else fighting Juggernaut.
I love Longshot.
Longshot was one of my favorites. They're fighting
Yeah.
the Juggernaut, and they've got his helmet off, and then of course Rogue jumps on him and smooches him, and steals his power. But it was funny because Juggernaut's reaction was like, "What? Like what is happening?" And like, yeah, she attacks him. Longshot was such a cool, and I wish they would do more. And I don't know if he came back or not, but he was such a cool character, and I still have the original graphic novel that Arthur Adams did with the original Longshot and all that. Yeah,
I do too. I've got that. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, the one thing I really did, I've noticed, even when like, and I would say, here's a weird question: when it comes to superheroes, do you guys like more simplified costumes or more detailed costumes?
I've thought about this a lot, and if you look at a lot of the iconic heroes that there are, they have really simple designs.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I tend to go more simple too myself.
I mean, I love to see all this detail and all these game concept pieces of art with all the pouches and all of the little buckles and nylon straps and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the comic medium, I think simple is a lot better.
Yeah.
I think if you get too involved in that stuff, for one, you make it hard on the artist, but two, I think it's got something to do with like, you see a sign going down the road and you see a silhouette on the sign, your brain automatically registers that as a person or a dog or a deer crossing the road or a cow. You see the and I think it's got something to do with that. So I think the simpler may not, in a pinup, it would be cool to put all that time in and work on a version of a character. But I think from what I've seen, the more iconic characters just have very simple, dumbed down, according to today's standards, costumes.
Yeah.
I think they just work the best.
So here's something else to toss out at you and kind of in that regard. So when you think about Superman and Batman and Spider-Man, these emblems pop to mind, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So you think about Superman, his chest emblem. You think about Batman, you think about the little bat, right? Think about Spider-Man. Now we think about the spider stuff. I think characters today miss those.
I think they do too. And strange enough, it's funny when you're talking, I realized that Marvel didn't do the emblems as much as DC did with the bat symbol and stuff. It just dawned on me when you were talking. I'm like, yeah, but Iron Man and Captain America, their costume was more of the symbol, especially Captain America.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you can say his symbol was in a shield with the the round and the star.
Yeah. Well, and Thor's has become the hammer, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
But Superman, I mean, when you do DC, I mean, Wonder Woman does have a symbol too, which is weird because in her chest, because you guys know I'm a big fan of hers.
Yeah,
it's a WW, but it's like connected, so it almost looks like a wings of a hawk,
right?
Kind of bird thing.
Green Lantern's got a logo.
Yeah. Because that's what's cool when you see. I've seen images. I'm sure you've seen pictures of people have done silhouettes of the Justice League, and they just bring out the symbol of the Flash, Green Lantern suit. I think that's really cool.
The Flash, yeah, those are cool.
And I think there is something to that building that icon, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, that
And
bat symbol, that's Batman.
it is, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's all you have to see, and I think that's where so many characters today miss it. I mean,
yeah.
can you think of any characters created in the last, you know, 15, 20 years that have an iconic symbol like that? And I realize that iconic kind of means they got to be around a
Yeah.
little while, but still, can you think of any that actually have?
There are some in but very few, but they're not on the chest. Like James R. Barr the Crow, his face
Uh-huh.
paint is very unique, so
Okay,
you can
yeah.
see that. But would you consider that a symbol? I would say yes, but not in the same way the bat symbol is. Now I'm thinking of other characters, but beyond that, no, they really don't. A lot of superheroes don't do that. If you're talking like modern superheroes and stuff, very rarely do they create an iconic symbol. Most of
Mm-hmm.
them are like drawn as like warriors or with like pouches and swords or whatever, but presenting themselves. And I don't know. Modern people consider that
Hokey.
cheat hokey? That's what I was gonna say.
You
Infrafan
know,
says great character is a silhouette anyway. If you can identify a character by their outline, you've done a good job.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
they
yeah.
taught me that a lot too. Even in
Who's they?
game design. The art when I went to the art
Mhm.
institute for a while,
No,
my
I
teachers would
just
be like, "Yeah,
that's an
yeah,
that's an old saying. They say this. Well, who's they, right?
they, the people."
Just kidding. Yeah, yeah. Who's they?
That's why the Men in Black show up and take Rolling away. That's they. See them taking you
Right.
away.
Those they. Yeah.
They.
Uh,
And most of my, strangely enough, I actually did kind of create symbols in my godling. There's a symbol of the gods that was this weird eye symbol, but my main characters have these three straps, these leather straps that go across, which is a symbol of the school uniforms. Then when they supposed to graduate in the gods later on, they give up those three straps. So that actually became a symbol, but nothing like the S of Superman, nothing. But
yeah.
I did kind of develop some symbology in them. I know, like I said, I actually, my favorite Spider-Man costume was always the black and white one because it was just so stark, that huge spider. There was something
Hmm.
really cool about I like the original one, but there was something about it was so simplified, but it was so stark and kind of impressive that I always thought it
Yeah.
was such a unique uh design for that character. And it was pretty, I mean, if you think of Spider-Man as his costume is, there's a pretty bold design for that character, and I think it
Y-
worked to a
Yeah.
degree. Yeah.
Yeah. All those webs on him.
Yeah, they
Oh,
took that away
man.
and stuff. Yeah. It's funny, you find artists that either love drawing those webbings, or you find artists who hate drawing those webbings.
Yeah.
I've thought the Spider-Man artists like, oh god, the webbings, other people love him. Well, that's what Tom McFarlane said. Reason why he invented Venom. He didn't want to draw that black because when he drew Spider-Man, he was in the black costume. He's like, I didn't want to draw that, so I took it off and made Venom, so I could draw the old original costume, which I wanted to draw. And I'm like, oh, that's funny.
That
So
is funny.
yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I tend to enjoy drawing more. If I draw superheroes, which I don't too much, most of the time they're iconic, like Superman. I find them more fun to draw because you can work that symbol into the composition of the drawing and
Mm-hmm.
the thing. I think it's a lot of fun to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know why they don't do that. I think a lot of smaller independent superheroes sometimes you find that sort of design, but a lot of it really harkens back. Yeah. So Infrafans got some stuff. He says modern superheroes can't get them brand deals because they don't have great logos.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
he's
just,
right
yeah,
though.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he's absolutely right.
yeah.
I think you have to have that.
If you gave any other artist that name, they wouldn't have never come close to that suit. Yeah. A lot of people say that too. I would almost say, and I'm not arguing, but just I prefer, like, when it comes to like the one costume that I always thought looked cool if you draw it right was Superman. That,
Mm.
if you get that diamond, sometimes if you get a big on his chest with the cape, you can do some really impressive compositions and drawings. Very iconic. I mean, he's one of the most iconic of all.
Oh
But
yeah.
you can kind of make him that icon. Um, and I've always preferred the so dumb question. Do you guys prefer the S smaller or bigger? Because originally it was very small in this chest, and as it was gone, the chest has gotten bigger, and then it's small and it's shrunk back and forth. I always prefer Superman with the bigger diamond
Yeah, I think
in
I
his
do too.
chest. But so I know
Yeah.
some have done the smaller one, yeah. Um, but yeah, I did too. I
Yeah.
did too. Um, So other things about, since we'll turn this into superhero costumes. What is your take on the superhero underwear they used to use? Which they've kind of, if you notice, they've kind of done away with that.
Yeah.
Most
The
modern
the
stuff.
underwear on the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was just it was to break up the color palette. It was just a
Right.
break. But I mean, yeah.
I like it. I I don't know if I was a superhero, would I wear that? I don't know.
I don't know.
Would I put my underwear on the outside? I don't really know. Is it
Well, I
because
think I think it's funny because like they wear a costume to conceal their identity, but at the same time the costume draws attention on them. If I were a superhero, I'd probably just wear plain clothes, maybe take an extra change of clothes with me or something.
Yeah.
That guy in the brown jacket over there, he just pushed that car up, out of the way. He's got like super strength or something. I could just slip into an alley, put a different set of clothes on or something, but never a costume. But I mean, for comics, it's awesome.
Yeah.
For movies, if it's done right, it is. But
and the other thing you got to think of is, I think, is that what these things are they're what's up, Kasisi?
Look, it's a civilian. Sorry.
It's a civilian. Oh, let me write that down. It's they're heroes, and you want them to be iconic. You want them to be larger than life.
The idea behind superheroes, that's their job. And I always took superhero costumes as like a variation on the police uniform. Like they wear a uniform to identify them as superheroes, iconic sort of thing. That's how I kind of took it. Kasisi said Superman looks weird without his trunks. I kind of go back and forth. Depends on the costume build. But I do notice that when I don't see it for a while, I'm like, okay, it kind of looks cool. And then when I see him put his trunks back on, I'm like, okay, that feels familiar.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes back and forth a little bit. I will say this. I think the trunks look good in comics. I sometimes think they can't quite get the trunks on movies.
Yeah. I agree with that. And
it's not there yet. I can't figure out why.
Some people know that I collect I collect figures.
Yeah.
And they have a classic Superman who has of course, he's got the red BVDs, but then now they've got this new one coming out, and he's a better build, but he is the new 52 version that does not have the, the Fruit of the Looms on the outside. He's just got the blue. And he just doesn't. I mean, the anatomy of the figure looks really good, and but I just, it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right.
Now certain, like Superman, I think it works. Now, do trunks work on Batman? I can argue that back and forth. I think sometimes, and I think it's just the character Bruce Wayne. I don't see him as a character doing that. I see Superman doing that, but maybe not Bruce Wayne.
I just say, in the movies, what they've done, making everything this is good, but in the comics, I just think there's just certain things that just work in comics, and they just don't translate to film, and vice versa.
Oh, they made fun of that in the original X-Men movie when they're like, do you guys go out in these? And Cyclops like, what would you rather have, yellow spandex? So they even made fun of that even in the original X-Men movie, which worked. It's funny. I was going to say, I remember in the new 52 Superman, they kind of put cuts in his costume. Look, he had armor plating. And I always remember, like, why does the Man of Steel need armor? But,
right.
Like, I never got that. I'm like, out of anyone, I'm like, he's the Man of Steel. Why?
Right.
I know. I think it's just to add detail, but it's like, but that just looks ridiculous on that particular character.
Fellas, I got class in the morning, so I just wanted to jump on and say hi. I did not even intend to stay this long, but it was fun chatting with y'all.
Of fun stuff. Yeah. So that's
cool. So Quentin, don't forget to bring up what you brought up on the chat here about.
I'll do that really quick too. Do you want to stay for that, or are you gonna?
No. I got class in the morning, so I got to get to bed.
All right. Well, good night, Mr. Roland.
All right.
Good night.
Thank you guys for letting me hang out with you.
Right, we enjoyed it. Anytime. Yeah, what Roland was referring to, and how I stumbled upon this is I sell things because I collect figures. I do a lot of buying and selling in order to support my habit. And let me I'm gonna pan my camera around. I'm kind of just a little bit of a
Do
collector.
you
You
want to?
probably
Maybe we can. Let me see. Can I make
that's
you?
the yeah. I don't know while I'm sharing my screen. Let me stop sharing. Stop screen. There we go.
Okay. Let me see. Can I click on? Let me see that. Let me see now. How do
There
I
you
get to
are.
you? There's me. Now, what if I click on? No, no. Can I? There we
There
go.
we
There's a.
go. There we go.
Okay, that'll be
Okay.
more of a. Okay, there we go.
I'm a bit of a collector.
Ooh, you got
Uh,
Masters of the Universe stuff. Oh, those are the new ones too.
yeah, the
Okay.
Origins. Uh, and you'll see some Lord of the Rings in there, some Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars, DC at the bottom, then random figures, and then I got some stuff up here. I collect. For those who don't know, I collect. And
Oh, nice Ghostbusters.
yeah,
That's
I
nice.
just got that Marshmallow
Oh, I
Man,
like
and
the Halo Aliens and Predator fight down there. That's pretty
oh
cool.
yeah, and there's the T800 right there beside.
Oh yeah. With the
Yeah, yeah, I just got him as well. I just have to watch like a chicken hawk whenever a deal comes up on some of these because they're just ridiculous. My newest acquisition is the classic Star Trek bridge crew up there.
Oh, that's cool.
I love that thing. It's old Playmates
Is that from like the
release.
80s or
Yeah,
something? Or
it's the classic Star Trek crew, and it's from they put it out I think in 1995, I think. But anyway, I do a lot of buying and selling on Macari and sometimes on Facebook. But
yeah.
the news is now is that if you do any kind of to all you eBayers out there, all of you people who buy and sell via the internet, or if you're an artist and you do
Mhm.
commissions, anything that requires you to accept money or monies on a Cash App, you need to be careful from now on because starting January the 1st, they did a new tax rule that on your next taxes, if you sell up to $600 and you receive up to $600 for stuff that you sell, whether it be a service or a product or whatever, then you are considered to have your own business. $600. That's not much over a year's time. So if you accept money from people from a sale and you get paid on a Cash App up to $600, then they turn you into the IRS. You have to do a 1099 and you now own your own personal business. You might as well come up with a title for it because the government is going to treat you with every fee or whatever that comes along with that. If you already have your own business, it's not a problem for you. But there's a lot of people right now that they're not very aware of this kind of stuff. And so what's going to happen is they're going to keep on buying and selling just like they normally do, and they're not going to pay attention. Well, the IRS is not going to come beat down your door 2 days after. They're going to wait a year. It's their common policy. I've done some research on this. They're going to wait a year and wait for the interest to accrue, and then they're going to come to you and want that money, and you're going to have to pay it. So keep that in mind that from now on, if you're going to buy or sell and you're going to accept payment, when you hit $600, you're doing a 1099.
That
So you can do your own research, find out more about it.
Info
You
Infofan
know,
says,
yeah,
"Man, child,
that,
sorry,
hey,
Infofan. That's my
that
company
me.
logo."
Yep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just, it's just a
He did have a
public
question.
service announcement.
Oh yeah. I think it's
Uh,
important. I have to pay attention to this too because I sell stuff. Now, so in January 1st, now I got to make sure that if I start, doing that. I do have my own company name, so I probably will I eventually get it. Did you pre-order Galactus? One question. Are you talking about the HasLab one, Infrafan?
This one is the Marvel Universe that's up there behind the that's the Marvel Universe. I just got that in
Okay.
today. That's why he's in front of that. My I haven't figured out how to display my Galactus yet, but he's old. He's the Marvel Universe one. He's not the
Okay.
big huge, big huge one. I don't
Yeah,
I'm a collector, but I look for deals and I buy loose. These I did start getting these on cards, and the origins I got on card, but most of my figures I do them loose.
yeah, I do
Um,
most of mine too.
yeah,
Yeah, sees did you okay, so did you order Infrafan? Because that thing that's I would assume that succeeded. My friend got in the X-Men Sentinel and I went to
yeah.
his house and saw it. Wow, that thing is
It's like a
enormous.
child.
It reminded me, do you anybody on here old enough to remember the old toys called My Buddy? It
Yes,
was like supposed to be like it reminded me of like a My Buddy version of the Sentinel. Like you could take My
I
Buddy,
see
my little
people
robot.
holding this thing up on Facebook, and it's
It's
like they're
unreal.
holding up a little child.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It's so
It's
big.
big enough to work with the legend size figures, and he was putting them. No, but you can claim that new one as dependent jobs. Yeah, there you go. You know, um, you could claim it as a dependent. It was enormous,
Yes.
and it comes with different heads. But I'm sure the Galactus, I think, is just as big.
As long as
Um,
I don't have to change it, I'm done with that.
oh man, yeah. I some of those he what did else he ordered Gal- the X-Men Sentinel. There was something apparently I think he also did the HasLab for the Razor Crest, which I think is coming out here soon, the Mandalorian Razor Crest, which I just saw a video today and how big that is. And I've noticed that everything HasLab
Yeah.
does is like big. Like it's the same thing, but way big. And I'm like, okay. Which makes sense because they couldn't put this in stores. They
Yeah,
put like one on
they
the
do it
shelf.
in scale, but man, I just when you get to collecting, this stuff takes up room, and
Yeah.
just the fact that I made the decision, okay, my figures are going to be 6 inch. Let me tell you, just that decision alone took up that wall. So now I'm gonna have to, I'm just
Sure.
gonna from here, I'm just gonna have to decrease and buy stuff from what I sell. But
Yeah.
I don't know any other way to do it. But I am not letting this get off of this wall over here. I say that
Yeah.
somebody
But
watching this a year from now, they're going, oh, look at this little collection. Look at this huge collection now. But I'm trying not to let it get off of this wall over here. But I mean, this stuff takes up room. And when you get these big figures, I can't imagine how I would display something like a Sentinel that big. I mean,
I wouldn't know.
uh,
It was funny. He had him sitting on his shelf. I'm like, what are you gonna do with him? He's like, I'm not sure. And I'm like, oh, okay. I do collect some hot toys. I have a certain amount of hot toys, and I haven't got them, but they're pretty big too. As far as like, I mean, I think they're the 12-inch size.
mhm.
So I have a few of those. The ones I've been getting lately are these ones called, and I can bring one up. This is from a company called Joy Toy. Doo-doo-doo. And these are
I
like just
love
these.
Joy Toy. Don't have any,
Yeah,
but
these are
they
the mechs,
look
and apparently you can like
amazing.
open like the head.
Yep,
And the one thing I noticed with these that I didn't know as I was playing with those, the arms and the legs pop off. And the first time I popped them off, I thought I broke it, and I was like, "Uh oh!" And then I realized I didn't break it; they're meant to. So once I figured that out, I'm like, "Oh wait, so you can interchange parts here and there." And
that's so cool.
I was like, "Oh, let's build a figure." So when I got new ones, I interchanged their arms and legs and make my own. And then the little armor also pops out, so you can interchange their armor on the hand, so you can kind of customize them to be your own little version of mechs. I'm like, well,
That's
that's kind
awesome.
of cool. I've never seen anything like that before. So yeah, I was really happy about that. Um, but yeah, I'm a big nerd, and I don't know if there's a storyline behind them. They each come with like
I
Like
don't
little.
know. I love Joy Toy, but it's one of those things where
They're spending.
I've already got caught up in. Like I got caught up in the Origins line. I'd started selling stuff on the internet. I was like, wow, I got some money now. What am
Yeah.
I going to do? And then I started, trying to think about what were the gaps in my collection and stuff like that, and my Marvel Legends. And then I was like, man, one of the things that I played with a lot, Star Wars, He-Man, G.I. Joe,
He-Man.
and my collection consists mostly of G.I. Joe and Marvel Legends. And I collected some Secret Wars, but I was thinking, I had lots of He-Man back in the day, and I love those things. And so I bought one, and
It-
I didn't do anything after that. But then Target had a sale for Battle Cat and Panther. Or wait, it's not Panther. What is it? Is it Panther?
you know what they say, Quentin. The first one's
Panther.
always free, right?
Yeah, they had them on sale online for $9 a piece. They're usually like $20, and that kicked it off. That kicked it
Yeah.
off. It
And
kicked it
let's go
off.
put
So
in more. What do you and yeah, thanks, Kasisi. Yeah, do any Emperor fan of Kasisi? Do you guys collect toys? I'm sure you do. Most. I don't think you can be a comic book fan and not collect some amount of toy or figure of some capacity. Um, so yeah, but did you like the new the Kevin Smith, the He-Man Revelations figures? Some of those are kind of cool. Some of them are different. I'm a huge fan of Man at Arms. He was always my favorite.
yeah,
I love Man at Arms, and
every iteration of him, classics, the vintage,
yeah,
origins, Man at Arms
pop
is
figures. Yeah,
always
yeah.
always solid to me.
Do you get any pop figures, Quentin? I know Kisisi said he has a
I
tons of
don't,
pop
but I
figures.
know quite a few people who do.
Yeah. No figures. I'm thinking of getting oh yeah, that's right. He was talking about the sectars. If you do, Kisisi, you have to come on and show me because I want to see him. So
Now, are we talking the classic
they're
sectors? Or
redoing them.
oh,
They're
really?
redoing this.
I
Yeah,
seem to
they
think.
got saying Man at Arms is choice. Yeah, he was always my favorite Man at Arms. Yeah, yeah.
Well, there's some good toy news. Some other good toy news. I've just started getting into Star Trek, the Playmate Star Trek, because you saw that up there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But Playmates, who have been doing a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
want to see
stuff
the.
lately, been bringing out the retro stuff, the turtles. I have those right up there. Let me see
Are
if
those the?
I've built a diorama and stuff for them.
Oh, the old cart. The old. Yeah. Are those
Yeah,
NECA?
I'll try to get closer. I'll have it. That no, I showed it on here. The diorama that I did.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
no, these are not NECA. These are actual Playmates, and they are
Oh
exactly to the T like the old ones you found in the store. And
yeah.
anyway, Playmates is getting back into Star Trek. So they're fixing to do a lot of. I think they're going to
Are
go
you?
6 inch. I doubt they're going to do retro stuff, but just some news. Anybody who cares.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can't find the retro turtle stuff. Yeah, that stuff is hard to find. They've been putting out new retros. The Ronan statue. You talking about the Ronan comic book? I have not. I need to read the new Ronan. The Ninja Turtles did that Ronan, the last Ronan series, and
Ronan Statue.
that looks awesome. Yeah, I haven't seen the new statue yet. I do have the NECA put out a series of the original turtles from the first comic book they did, the first black and white. I have those. They all have the red mask and stuff. Those are the ones. Oh, they made a toy statue. Ooh.
Oh, that is nice. Or is it the sideshow? Which one did he say it? Or,
I think it was like Ronin. This must be coming out.
I looked up Ronan Statue, and I'm
Oh
seeing like
yeah,
a
because the
hooded.
other turtles are. Yeah, that's. Oh wow.
Yeah, that looks nice.
Yeah, I really want to read that, and I need to buy. I think you can. They have it collected on Amazon now, but yeah.
You know what I like about this is, do you see the pads that he has on his shoulders and on
Hmm.
his wrist guards? I like that because that is reminiscent of the pads that they've always had. The puff pads on their
I like
knees,
I
and
like my favorite pads were these sort of pads where they were cut in threes. Like there've
Yeah,
been
yeah, and
one.
that's when
Those are
that's
my favorite ones.
that
Yeah,
that totally goes with that aesthetic there. With he's got those on the three puffed pads. I
yeah,
don't know what you call them, but the shoulder pads and the wrist guards, they look like it really fits in well with that. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm a big fan of the ninjas. Yeah, yeah. The one with the spirits around them. That's the one I was looking at. Yeah, you get. I was noticing because he said they can change the weapons. Yeah, yeah. That's. I remember the last Ronin because I do heard the story. Not spoilers, but I haven't read it. But even I heard that his three brothers are dead, so he's the last one. Yeah, yeah.
I haven't
I
seen
did.
Matrix yet. I
I
haven't.
did watch Resurrections, and I am a big Matrix fan, and I was not a super big fan of this. I don't know. It was okay. I think
I've
I
heard
think
all kinds of stuff.
I
I
think
don't.
the movie has some really cool ideas in it, but I don't think they were played with. Like I really like the idea of, and this isn't spoiling any of the plot, where they were taking the actual coding from the Matrix and turning it into actual biological stuff. They were growing strawberries and stuff. That was a cool idea. There was an idea where the programs could actually come into our world through this sort of mimicry, looking like these sort of almost like nanotech robots that would form like these human images. They have some really cool ideas in that show. But I almost feel like they had a lot of ideas and they compressed it into one movie. And I think they need to let the movie breathe. I can almost see it too. Um, I did like when they were showing like Io, the new city that was built with fusing robots or whatever. I liked a lot of what they did with it. I think strangely enough, as it was, it didn't have that sort of brooding menace that the originals had. It was more, it felt like if they took the Matrix and put it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm.
And it kind of worked and kind of didn't because Matrix had its own tone. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Same
me
thing.
as movies for
The
me
eye was bigger. Yeah. Yeah.
felt rushed. Yeah, I don't like that when a movie feels rushed and they just kind of bypass a lot of stuff or try to deal with it too
Yeah.
fast. Uh, but the best movies that I have seen lately, I went and watched Afterlife, and that was the first
I
time I'd
loved
been
it.
to the movies since everything began.
Yeah.
I loved it. I absolutely loved
My
Afterlife.
that was
Uh,
my favorite movie this year was
yeah,
Afterlife. And
and
I
then
agree. Okay.
just this last weekend, I watched Spider Man, and again, to me, that movie, I don't. Everybody has their own opinion, but for me, that was like completing. It went the distance to complete all the other Spider-Man that I always wished
Yeah.
they would have went a little bit farther with this character or that character, like Doctor Octopus, and you
Yeah.
know, I just loved it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Um,
I
and
want to do Oh, go ahead.
I used to love everything, but here lately, and probably the last 6 years, I've really gotten very critical about movies. Us even talking about feeling rushed. A lot of
Yeah.
times I would give, a little leeway to movies, but I just don't as much anymore because a lot of times movies will make, or I say a lot of times, not anymore. They used to make up for stuff like that, but now movies don't. Sometimes they get rushed, and then there's so many other problems with the rest of the movie that, you know, what am I going to give a pass on the whole movie?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I thought that I did see the new Spider-Man and I really liked that. My favorite Spider-Man was Andrew Garfield. I always thought he looked like Peter Parker, the classic, and I thought his humor fit my humor, who was more sarcastic, which I thought was funnier. And
Hmm.
so I was happy that they brought him back. And if you guys haven't seen it, spoilers, then that's on you. It's been out for a while and it's made so much money that I can't consider the one person who hasn't seen it or heard about it. But
Well,
yeah,
my thing with any of these movies that have come out, I always, I have kind of my own version when I read one, and I have my own idea of how a character is. none of them line up to what I, like Spider-Man. I don't think any of the Spider-Man have been what I kind of considered them as being. But that's just me.
It's
I
hard to
always
nail
take,
it down in person.
I guess what I'm trying to say is it's always, some of it's hit and miss, and I just kind of judge it as a whole. Um, so I think different ones have different strengths. Uh, I don't, like some people just really don't like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think he adds, for some reason, he feels a little more adds a little agility to it or something. I don't know.
I
A
don't
little
pick,
more the
yeah.
underdog, maybe. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, but each one of them I have enjoyed something about their Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think combined, Tom Holland's okay as Spider-Man. He's a little, as funny as it is, and also, if a friend said Nightmare Alley was fantastic. I have not seen Nightmare Alley. That's I can't remember who did that, but I do. That is on my radar. Take on Peter. Yeah, Tom Hiddleston. I do think the original, because the original Peter Parker doesn't age well. He doesn't, no. And I think they kind of tried and I see a lot of the new Peter Parkers in the movies kind of probably reflecting more of the Ultimate Spider-Man Peter Parker designs. Then the concept of nerd is different too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you're
Because
right.
he was a little, the one thing I think they haven't really been able to super nail down, they did it later on in the Spider-Man movies, was that Peter was a scientist. And
Yeah,
even at the beginning when Iron Man gave him all his tech, he was kind of like, oh, he can use his tech. Even that's the one thing I did like about
that was
this
one thing
new
I liked
one.
about this new movie is
He
they
worked with
did
him as a
shine a light
scientist.
on that.
Yeah.
That he is smart. He's not
Yeah.
just the Spider-Man.
Granddaddy Longleg, was that just me? Yeah, he would be, in now I just have this whole image of him just as a pimp. And that what okay, so we're not gonna say, hey, man, that's going down a dark alley, Emperor fan. Not have all sorts of jokes I can make, but this is the family show. So
Yes, please don't.
but yeah, I did like they did put more of the science in the, I thought it was well done. Yeah, I think nerd is concept nerd, like Cassis was saying, the concept of nerd is different because I think most people think of nerd as like us, comic books, movies.
Well,
Back then, the
being a
original idea of
nerd
nerd was
is
like the
not
smart guy.
as, yeah,
Yeah.
being a nerd is not being an outcast anymore.
No, it's not. Not
There's
like it
people
was
that
back
are
then.
actually trying to look nerdy to fit in with the nerds now, which is really crazy.
I know.
It's
I
really
still think
nuts.
it's funny that everyone is going to all these superhero movies, and I'm like, this is why I got so much, not so much, but why I got bullied in high school and stuff is because I was in the comics and stuff. And now you guys like it, so I'm like, okay, still letting
Yeah.
that one sink in over the years. Um, but yeah, I did like that. I Afterlife I thought was great, and I'm almost satisfied if they don't actually make another Ghostbusters. I know they kind of left it open, but I was almost like, I'd almost be satisfied with just having that be the third one. I usually think of movies in arcs, three-story arcs, I guess, because most of them had trilogies like Star Wars. So a lot of times, if they make a third movie and I like it, I'll just end it there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, they did do beginning another Spider getting to. Yeah, I did. I liked the way they did with. I felt bad for.
Yeah, I was really good. I was really that was one other huge thing that I really loved about it is that I kind of felt like Andrew Garfield, or what's his name?
Yeah,
Andrew
that's the one.
Garfield.
Yeah,
I feel like he kind of got a little bit of his due because whenever they started doing the MCU stuff and they rebooted him, they just showed him the door on his
yeah.
second movie. His second movie just didn't perform as well as they were hoping that it
There's been
would, and
rumors that they want to make another Andrew Garfield one and finish that up.
yeah.
I have no
Well, I was
idea.
really glad that he was able to kind of, if it comes to that, that he was able to finally bookend, his Peter Parker. Uh, because I hated the way he got done. Because he was expecting, at least a 3 movie deal, and all these other things. And I don't
Do
know
you?
all the particulars, but it just felt
Yeah.
like they just kind of showed him the door.
Well, they went where the money was apparently. I actually the first I like both of them, but the first Amazing Spider-Man Andrew Garfield I really thought did a good job of kind of capturing Spider-Man at like his. I mean, he's just everything's against him, and I did like that Gwen Stacy was more they're working as a team and what because I like um the original Spider-Mans with Toby Maguire was his name, but the Mary Jane getting kidnapped every movie she get kidnapped to the point where I'm like, you think she'd figure this out? Or by the third movie, like Mary Jane's kidnapped again. I'm like, okay, you guys need to think of something new for Spider-Man to overtake. This is getting kind of old. Did you guys ever wish they would have brought in like any of the other Mary Janes from the shows? Like I know they couldn't bring Gwen Stacy in because she died, but I always thought it'd been interesting if
They could have.
Kirsten Dunst came in with the other one. Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking. Like going back with the idea of multiple realities, I was always wondering if Andrew Garfield could find Gwen Stacy in another reality or something. I don't
They
know.
could have brought her
I don't
back as a zombie.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering if they were ever going to do the Andrew Garfield with a big Spider Gwen from another reality, and it would be like the Gwen Stacy from the Spider Gwen. I don't know. I thought that'd be kind of fun. But I hope to do more Spider-Mans. I did notice at the end of the movie they only said Doctor Strange will return. They didn't say Spider-Man will return, which I find.
Uh,
I mean,
I
obviously, I think he's going to, but I did notice they didn't say that.
if it is to be believed, some stuff that I heard, they are actually doing more Spider-Man, and they're gonna this movie kind of made it to where they can do uh more things with his character, because now nobody knows who he is. So
I think he.
they can either start over with him, not start over, but they can, do interesting story arcs with his character now, because
Yeah,
nobody knows who he is now. And we'll just see what happens. But I thought I heard somebody say that there's going to be a new round
yeah, because
of,
CC said he signed for 3 more movies. I think
yeah,
that's right.
that's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah.
I still would love to them. The one villain they haven't done that I really want them to do is Craven the Hunter, because I just think that would be such a cool
I
movie.
think I've heard that name kicked around as well.
Because he's such a cool the idea of like you can do this cat and mouse movie of like where they're hunting him or whatever. I'm trying to think of other villains. I would love to see them do a Scorpion, which they've hinted at a few. I think at the end of the second Amazing Spider-Man, they showed Scorpion's tail like in a Did they cast Craven Hunter? Okay, if they did, then I haven't heard that yet. But that's the one I would like. The Scorpion. Trying to think of other. Yeah, because CC said if they casted him already. Um,
I thought that's what I had heard, but I listen to so much while I'm working that
it
I
could
don't
be. I
pick up
mean,
everything.
there's so many rumors that come through. It could be, but I have heard that Craven was supposed to be. Even I even thought he might have been hinted at this one, but I do know they want to do stuff with him. Um, and I just like the idea of the big game hunter. I just thought he was one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, just because it was like all a sport to him. Just, I mean, like this big game hunter hunting him down. I am really looking forward to the new Batman movie, and I can't quite figure out how they keep making Batman fresh. Every time they bring a new Batman movie, I'm like, yeah, Batman, I've seen it and done it, but this new one, um, looks crazy good.
I
Yeah, and
saw the
for
commercials for it. The trailer. We don't say commercials anymore.
yeah, they have
Um,
Craven's. The guy said, okay, yeah,
yeah, it looked really good,
yeah, it was.
which kind of surprises me because
That
I'm usually slow to
catch
accept things.
I am slow because he says I'd love to see a Deadpool Spider-Man movie. I would think that would be great. I would be if they're gonna keep Deadpool
Yeah.
R-rated. That's gonna be hard to do an R-rated with a PG Spider-Man, but I still think it would be funny, especially since if Deadpool can be as crass as he can be, and Spider-Man can be the straight man. like the Two Goody Two Shoes. I think that would be hilarious, and they could do some funny stuff. But man, you don't want the kids coming to see a Deadpool movie. That's a whole nother. And I've heard Disney wants to do an R-rated Deadpool, and I'm like, yeah, but how R-rated? I mean, because those Deadpool movies got pretty raunchy with some of their humor, which kind of made the movie sometimes, but it was funny. Um, yeah, the new Batman. Beyond that, I haven't seen many movies that have been coming out that I know. Like again, I'm a huge Matrix fan, but I think I'll just leave that. The other thing I was going to say about the Matrix Resurrections again is if you haven't seen it, spoilers. Stop watching if you haven't seen it. Blah blah blah. Okay, you guys have all been able to leave then. They do bring back Neo and Trinity, and I thought that completely undermined his sacrifice at the end of the third film. It's like if you kill these characters off to make a stand against the enemy, and then in the next film you just resurrect and bring them back, you completely undercut their sacrifice. I did not like that. I don't like it when they do that, when they resurrect characters, especially, yeah, because he says, like, I can completely agree. That's one of my problems. This was kind of one of my big problems when they
Well,
brought the Emperor.
this is the thing though. Like when a story is done, leave it alone.
Yeah. But that
Now,
was
I
my
haven't
big problem
seen the
when they,
movie. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, the Luke Skywalker story, as far
Yeah.
as I'm concerned, outside of the legacy stuff, it was done. If they were going to do something, they could have done something out of legacy. I don't want to get into that whole conversation, but I'm just saying when a story is done,
it's done.
and you try to force another ending and after that to it, it just, I don't know.
I don't. Yeah.
They messed
when
things
they brought
up
back
sometimes.
the Emperor, when they brought back the Emperor, I will admit that was not the first time they did that. They actually brought him back in the comics, so I understand that. There was a Dark Empire comic by Dark Horse, so they brought him back
Right.
and stuff. But still, if you bring back the Emperor and canon, it completely undermines the sacrifice Darth Vader made to kill the Emperor, and it thus killing himself.
Yeah.
So that still bothers me too.
Yeah,
I
such
like
as
Messiah's unhappy. The Emperor fan says, call me crazy, but I like my Messiah's unhappy. Yeah, the idea is they're supposed to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. And so, yeah, I just, make a new character or make, like, if they make kids, when they did in the new Star Wars, the Kylo Ren character who was like, okay, that's an interesting. He's like, the legacy of his grandfather, whatnot. But yeah, he wasn't, no, legacy, no, he wasn't related. That was the other girl that was related to the Emperor. But yeah, I don't like it, and it was weird because that was my biggest problem with the Matrix, that they're all happy and everything's hunky dory.
Hey, I love Keanu Reeves. I actually I can't wait to watch the Matrix. It wasn't one that I was going to go to the movies for because to me the Matrix had already happened.
Yeah,
It happened in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so it went to my B list, my back burner list. But I mean, I still am excited to see it.
Yeah,
I've
I'd be
heard a
curious
lot
your
of
take
things
on it.
about it.
I'd be curious your take on it. It's definitely got some interesting ideas. I'll give it that. But again, I just think I was like you. I mean, The Matrix was done. They told the story. It was, in my opinion, I thought it was well told. So I kind of just wish they would again. They keep repeating every property, and it's like, can we just leave some properties alone and make new ones?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's some of my biggest and
Don't tell
do,
Tim. I still haven't seen Dune yet.
I know.
And
Yeah,
I
poor
really
Tim.
want to see it, but I just, I haven't gotten around to it. So
I didn't mind it. I can't, and I think I've said this before. And for some odd reason, Dune is well done for what it is. As just one storyline, I just cannot get into. I don't know, and I don't know why.
I'm like that with stuff. Some stuff, I cannot for the life of me sit through Doctor Who. And there's
Yeah.
people who swear by that show. And
Yeah.
let me tell you, I've seen episodes all the way back when I was little. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I would see Doctor Who come on, and I was interested to see what it was.
Yeah.
And it was kind of okay then, but when they brought it back later, I just didn't know what I was looking at, and I really, frankly, just it looked just too weird. I don't know. It just wasn't my
It's
thing.
very eclectic. Doctor Who.
Farscape. Farscape was another one. I just couldn't ever. It had everything
Yeah.
that said that I should have liked it. I
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I
I
just couldn't
find it
sit
weird
through it.
that there are certain things exactly what you said. Yeah, Casey said, Dune was made for people who read the book, and you probably like it. And most of the people that really love it have read the books, and so I mean, the movie was gorgeously made. I mean, it was shot well. I mean, everything about it was fantastic. Um, you know, it was just one of those ones that for someone, and I'm the same way with you, like with Dune, or like your story, like all of these shows have all the ingredients I need to like it, but for some
Right?
odd reason I just can't get into it, and I don't know why.
Yeah, and
um
sometimes it's not a story. It's not the story. The story seems to be okay.
yeah,
It's not this or that. I can't put my finger on it. It's just
yeah,
not my thing, and that's why a lot of times, I'm real careful about saying, "Wow, that thing is crap." I try not to be that way or say
yeah, I try
that.
not to either.
I
I just
just
say it's not
usually
my thing.
say it's not for me. I
Yeah, it's
just,
just not
I
my
try to
thing.
sum it up as it's not for me. It's for somebody else.
And there's been lots of it's strange enough, Game of Thrones wasn't for me. Yeah, I because he said there was a lot in Dune that was unexplained. um I feel like this first Dune movie, more when the whole thing is done. For someone who hasn't read the books, it was just a first act for me. Yeah, I kind of get a feeling once I see the full book put to screen, because I'm sure they're going to do it. Um, Certain stories rely on you already being connected to the characters. Yeah, I can see that. There's a lot of character building. The one thing I do know in Dune is the world building was impeccable. I mean, when it came to science fiction world building, I mean, the Dune universe is impeccably built and constructed, and and those characters and stuff too. Again, I mean, you could argue that they argued that Lord of the Rings was unfilmable. I think Peter Jackson did a good job with it. Some
I think you
people
did
would
too.
actually, some people still disagree. Maybe Dune is one that I don't think is unfilmable, but it's just one that it's because it's so dense. I do know the Dune books are very dense, and it's really hard to cut what you because it all goes together. There's not a lot in Dune you can cut out, and you can cut out little things here and there and be okay. But they really, as does all work together. There's not a lot of extraneous stuff in that story. I know that. Um, but it's again, it was beautifully shot. It was just I don't know. It just there's some stuff, some Star Wars stuff is like that way for me. Love the Mandalorian. Uh,
Yeah.
some of the
Yeah, I have
I
to
like
agree there.
yeah.
My favorite character by far in the Star Wars universe, I'm talking classic,
Hmm.
is Ben Boba Fett. I've only seen the first episode,
Yeah, I haven't seen that at all. What did you
but it
think?
that look at my
I've gotten
expression.
the same.
I know that it's building, and I'm gonna keep watching it. But that's how I feel about what I saw. That I would have liked if they would have moved his Sarlacc pit escape to the end
We all
rather
know
than
he
telling
escaped,
me
obviously.
immediately. I would have
Oh,
rather just guessed a little longer because
because
I
we
kind of
obviously know he
figured and
escaped.
put
Yeah,
two and two together and kind of knew from Legacy, which it wasn't just like Legacy, but I'm just saying that I wish they'd have waited a little bit longer, maybe sat on it a little of how he got away. Um,
Kansas with Tuskens. That's good.
yeah, that's good. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I haven't seen it. I know from the trailers they kind of set up Boba Fett as being the sort of crime lord.
oh,
I
I didn't
I
know that
never
you hadn't
saw
saw
that.
it. I wish I wouldn't have said that. But I'm just
That was from
saying.
the trailers. I got that from the trailers, not the
Okay.
show. Yeah,
Well,
that was from the
that's my
trailers
only
alone.
thing. I mean, I'm gonna watch it. It looks like it's building, but I will tell you from the time I started watching, and it does have like it is good and classicy, which I like. So
Yeah,
that's why I'm gonna keep on watching it. Last Jedi and all those, they just didn't feel. Some parts did, but it was just very fleeting to
yeah.
me. And but from that point on, I just treated it like a different movie. I just
same
treated
thing
it like, and that's how I learned to like that movie. I shouldn't have to learn to like a movie, but
I know.
with Boba Fett, he's my favorite character, and I hope that it's great. But I have to say that the Mandalorian, from the opening scene, this feels like Star Wars number
Yeah.
one when I first sat down to watch it, and I don't know why. I don't know why it's this way, but it just feels that way, and it felt that way the entire way through,
Yeah.
and I just loved it.
It was the same thing. It was,
Boba Fett. He's not. I don't know. I just don't know yet.
I'd be curious I know same thing with I like the Clone Wars cartoon. Um I've watched the Rebels cartoon. It was okay. It just Star Wars is a hit or miss with me. And for fans, that you just imagine that the new trilogy is Luke's dream in a healing bath that works. It does work when he's in the healing bath.
Yeah, it was all a dream.
It was all a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually tend to think now that I think Star Wars almost works better on the small screen than in the theaters.
Well, they're doing a heck of a job. I tell you,
Yeah.
I really, and I think what it is just the people they have in control of these things. They've got their talent on the small screen, and they got their political people who've moved up the ladder on the in control of the big
Yeah.
screen. And I think that's what a lot of it. That's to me. I don't know.
Have
Who am
you
I?
did you ever watch the Witcher series, Quentin?
I am watching it now. I have not watched all the way through the second, but yeah, I love the Witcher series.
Yeah. Yeah, the Witcher's really done. I watched the second season and yeah, because he says Boba Fett may just be a slow burn. It's got to be a difficult story. I think
Yeah,
it
I
is a
mean,
difficult story.
I've
There's
only
not.
watched 1.5 episodes, so I mean, I'm not making any judgments on it yet, but I know that it's starting out a little slow. Um,
It's kind of one of those characters. Boba Fett is the classic quiet mystery character. So the more you write about him,
what
sometimes the more you do.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Is
Yeah,
that the Mandalorian and
is what
the
you're
whole
right. I
thing
think
that
those. Yeah,
kept me going with Bubba Fett all these years is because he's mysterious, and you find out some things, little bits.
hmm
They feed you little crackers, along the way, but they keep you starving just enough to keep coming back for those little crackers. And then all of a sudden they dump a whole,
yeah,
turkey dinner in your lap, and boom, this is who he is. This is what he's all about, and this is how he escaped the Sarlacc pit. And uh,
yeah.
that's the whole thing with Yoda. He and his whole race is because we know nothing, and everything that's been told about him. You just don't know
But that's
what
the
to
fun
think
of it.
about
Yeah,
Yoda. Besides Yoda. And if you take away the mystery, like I was getting to with Mando, is from the start there was mystery there. Who is this guy? What's he about? What's his alignment? Is he good? Is he bad? Is he chaotic, lawful? Using some D&D there, um, or what is he? And you want to
yeah.
find that out. Well, with Bubba, it's like we've been wondering all these things all this time, and it's made the character wonderful. But now you're showing everything, and you know,
Well, the thing
I would
about
have,
the quiet characters is you have a version of who he is in your head. You start to
yeah.
develop that based on the mystery, and when it comes out, and it's not what's in your head, it's all like, I don't like that. Um,
Well, there's
CC
also a
says, just
sense of
imagine what you know now is a lie, and the twist comes in episode 5. Yeah, I know,
there's
right?
there's also a sense of earning the information
Yeah,
throughout the story. You earn it. When you earn something, it feels good. But when it's all handed to you or thrown at you, here, go, take this money. Everybody
yeah,
likes money, but and it's kind of like I always say about the, games. I love to play a game until I get the cheat codes. Then I like it for about an hour,
yeah.
and then
It
I
gets
just don't
boring.
even care about it anymore because I've done everything that I'm gonna do in it. So there's no more mystery to the game, and it's ruined from that point on when they just throw everything at you. Uh, that's just how I
Yeah.
feel. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm not going to be one of those people who, if it stinks, I'll say I love it. I'm not one of those
Yeah.
people.
Like I said, my favorite movie trilogy is The Matrix, and I have to admit I did not like Resurrections. So same thing with you. Even if it's like one of my favorites, like if I don't like it, I don't like it. And I was disappointed with The Matrix. I was like, because I was really looking forward to it, and I was like, well. Oh well, I watched it on HBO.
Yeah.
We haven't watched Boba Fett yet. We got done watching The Witcher with a friend. I have a friend who we watch TV shows with, and we got done watching The Witcher and liked that one. And then we were watching Arcane. I don't know if you guys have watched the Arcane series.
No, I haven't. I haven't heard
You
of this.
might.
What's it on?
Arcane is on Netflix. It's an animated, but it's really well done. It's is it League of Legends? I think it's League of Legends. One season.
Okay, I
You'd
know.
probably
Yeah.
really, really like it. Definitely worth checking out. So yeah. Yeah, Professor did on the Matrix. Yeah. Yeah, I was bummed. So yeah, because if you're talking about Arcane, yes. Arcane was one of those things. So yeah, if you like that, and it reminds me the art style, yes, it's League of Legends. Yes. Yes. Okay, good. Because I have never played League of Legends. I know it's a hard game to crack for some people. Um, but
I
it
think
kind of
it's just
matches your
very
art style and stuff,
involved.
Quentin. So I think you might like it just for the art style alone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Well, you definitely
unfortunately,
got me curious now.
yeah, it's on Netflix. It is 10 p.m., so that means it is the end of our show because we could talk about this stuff all night.
I
And
definitely
we have.
could. Yeah.
So, but
Because
thanks
there's nobody else. I tell you guys, I don't know
yeah,
about y'all, but I work a job every day, and I don't get an opportunity. There's just not a lot of people around that I discuss these kinds of things with. I love to get on these streams and chew the fat with everybody, and it just really is, awesome. And I love to hear what everybody else says and what
yeah.
everybody else thinks.
Especially
Um,
in the stuff that we're interested in, because I'm like that way too. Some of my friends are into this stuff. A lot of my friends are not. Because he says, "Have a good night, a great
yeah, and I
show.
appreciate everybody showing up
It's fun
and
chatting with you guys.
partaking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Come back and talk some more. And next Tuesday, I think Tim should be back and Jose should be back. So we'll have lots more. It is nerd therapy. We will have
wow,
lots
that's
more
awesome.
next week.
You should start a show in for fan.
Yeah, called
That's a
nerd
good
therapy. We should
name.
just change it
Nerd
Silver Line
therapy.
nerd therapy on Tuesday. Um, but yeah, yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely be back. I know we are having a Kickstarter starting this week on the 13th.
Yep.
For Sniper and Rook, and the other one is the Rejects, which I'm really excited for both. I've not read these series, so these are new series to me. The Rejects looks great. So go to Kickstarter and do all the Kickstarter stuff. I think there's been ads on Facebook where you can go in the Kickstarter and search for Silverline. It should be coming up. You can subscribe to be notified or whatever. And
Infrafan had a show. Wow, Infrafan.
yeah, I didn't know you
Tell
had a
me where
show.
it is, and I'll go watch.
Yeah.
I wanted to show just what I was able to finish while we were talking.
Ooh,
Uh,
look at that. Pretty.
yeah, you got to play around with the blacks when you got all this stuff in one
That's
panel
cool. I
with
like
all
the
these people.
silhouettes. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of had to do some hoodoo. I got one little guy up here in the corner to do.
Still up on Spotify, Geek Men and Masters of the Thunder Nerds.
Awesome.
I love your titles. That's worth it right there.
Got this panel to do next, and then it'll be Dunzo. Boom.
Nice.
You want me to
It's
take
looking
this?
awesome.
Yeah, I
So
love it.
I think
Yeah,
that's going to be the next series that's going to be done. We just finished up Kalis, but I've read issue 1 and 2, and I'm excited to read the last 2. I think Trump's is going to be the next one to
I think
finish.
so. This is the page before, and this is where the
Wow.
battle really, really starts kicking off. And man, look at all the Kirby crackles. There's a
All of them
lot
is on an
going on here,
episode.
guys. A lot going on here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on here. I don't know. I need to get with the colorist to make sure that they do these. I did them on a separate layer. I hope I did. Yeah, I did. So yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I hope I did. But yeah, that's did so that they don't come up in the inks. I don't want them in the
Right.
inks, but I don't know. In the face, in the face.
Man,
Yeah, this is
look at all
the.
that gore.
Yeah, I know. Look, that's all that brain matter. But this is the page before, and then he's feeling pretty good about himself, and then he's talking, and then they're just up there talking. Then all of a sudden, they have an explosion right in the front of them, and he's asking him when is he gonna start doing something, because he's the ace and he's got all the bells and whistles and all the good tricks. So anyway,
Yeah.
it's coming along good. I'm real excited about it. I have to find ways of being excited about it. So anyway, I'm excited to see this thing done. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
Ready for Night
Yeah.
Rise, baby.
We have a lot of stuff to kickstart this year for Silverline. So for all you Silverline fans up there, this year is going to be big. We got a lot of cool stuff coming out. Definitely. So, but that list stuff looks awesome. Gets me all excited to read it and stuff. See, everyone's doing amazing work here. Wow.
Yeah, sometimes man, I see some stuff that comes on the chat sometimes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
holy moly,
Yeah.
I've really got to step up my game.
That's some definitely impressive stuff. Yeah.
But
Okay.
anyway, all right, well, I guess we better end the show, huh? And for
Yep.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah. Definitely have to watch all the episodes. So,
By the way,
all right.
everybody, I'm from 282 to 214.
Do we-
Wait. From 282 to 214. That's 60 something pounds.
Really?
So, yeah, I can see my shoes now. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it's going well. No diabetes, and I'm almost out of off my sleep apnea machine.
That's awesome to hear.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.